talk hip hop. Let's go. My joint right now, man. Classic. Again, when you talking about these rappers like the Method Mans of the world, they got undeniable classics, my dude. These songs, the replay value on these shits, crazy. Alright. When we talking about Jin today, I was just like, Jin, martial arts, Chinese, torture, Wu-Tang, you know what I mean? And I've also been playing this song a lot, so that's why I wanted to play it. Alright, so let's talk about Jin real quick. I saw this trending on Twitter, and I thought it was fascinating. This is a topic that doesn't actually come up. Talking about Jin and why Jin failed or something like that. I saw a tweet and I was like, that's right. I want to talk about this because I was there, right? Now, Jin, I let me just say flat out, I got a lot of love for Jin, okay? I was a fan. Like, I fucked with Jin heavy, okay? I first, like a lot of people, I heard about Jin on 106 & Park. I was watching them battles live and shit. I remember him destroying niggas on 106 & Park live. I'm sitting there going like, yo, this Chinese cat's killing him. It was hard. Like, you have to understand, man, I've never seen some shit like that before. Personally, I was just like, this dude, I mean, they would say some shit because it was hilarious. They would come in and be like, this nigga's Chinese, well, I'm like, talking this nigga type of thing, and he would flip it, like, he would always flip it, and I was a fan. Again, I'm a hip-hop dude at my core. I don't care what race you are, I've said this before, if you dope, you dope, if you nice, you nice, and Jin was nice. He was nice with it. And it's funny because, you know what? Jin, I remember people downplaying Jin a little bit. Oh, you know, you just think he's nice because he's Chinese. Nah, he was nice, man. You know what I'm saying? But you know what's interesting? You see, you can be mediocre as a rapper if you're a black rapper, and if you're a white rapper especially, you can be super mediocre and pop off. But when you're another race, like, in art, like, to pop off among us, it's extraordinarily tough. Because obviously we, as black folk, we know the bar, right? And we don't let shit slide like that. So when you're Chinese and you're trying to rap, you gotta be like incredible. And the thing with Jin, with all due respect, obviously he was a fantastic freestyler. I think he was like definitely one of the best I've personally ever heard. But of course it takes a while to get some dues. In a way, he was kind of like that Eminem, the stories that we talk with Eminem, stories by the way. Where it's like, you know, just this guy who's struggling, you know, he's struggling to be respected and people downplaying his skills and shit like that. I saw that a little bit. But the point is that Jin was nice with it, man. Those freestyles were funny as fuck and they were fire. So at the end, I think it was the seventh battle on 106 & Park, he's just murdered everybody. Murdered. I mean, like, literally, they were murdered. Especially the first one. Where I remember it's like, I haven't seen this shit in years, and the rhymes are burned in my fucking dome. Where I think he was battling a dude named Hassan. He's like, with a name like Hassan, you should work for Taliban, because that's the only way you get Flex to drop a bomb. And right away, I was like, whoa, who is this? Oh my god. Yo, Jin was nasty, man. So, anyways, he's murdered everybody, and he was better than everyone. The only one that was like kind of close was that Sterling cat. I think he was the second one. Anyway, so 7th round, he's won. Rough Riders. I remember seeing it. I don't know if it was maybe even DNY might have been like on TV or some shit. But anyway, so it's like Jin's coming out on an album. He's signed to Rough Riders. I'm like, oh, it's perfect because, you know, DMX is raw. I'm a huge Rough Riders fan. He's in great company. Right, this is a guy who's like really dope with the freestyling, and I can't wait to see what he comes with. He's Chinese. This is something new. This is fresh. Yes. Okay. Now, so in the midst of all this, he comes out with this song. I remember hearing this song, and let me just tell you, people. You know what's funny about this record? I remember people being very, very, like, kind of lukewarm on this song. You know what I'm saying? To a certain degree. But in a way where people were offended by this record. That's what people don't want to talk about. Because I actually thought this shit was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of fire. I didn't think it was an incredible song, but I was like, yeah, you know, this ain't Bruce Lee. I watch too much TV. Like, I thought it was dope. Like how he came out, I was like, yeah, I'm Chinese, and what? And you know what's funny about that shit? People caught feelings. I mean, this is the way I saw it even back then. I could see that energy where it was like, oh, who the fuck does this Chinese guy think he is? And I'm telling not just black folk, especially white folk. Because again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what black folk think. We make a small percentage of the consuming population when it comes to this rap shit. So if white people buy into your shit, they buy into your shit and you can pop off without us. That's the fact of the matter. But there was this kind of like anti sort of like Chinese sentiment to me personally that I felt where I was just like, oh, people are not fucking with this because he's literally coming out on some like, nah, y'all gonna learn Chinese right now, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Hard, like he was just forcing it. And I think people took it the wrong way. They caught feelings. On some real shit. Now, you gotta remember, this is 2004. You know, we're still in the midst of 9/11. Like, it was, you know, you got these xenophobic vibes, man. I'm being 100 with you. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, it was too raw for what the audience was expecting. You know what I'm saying? Especially the mainstream audience. You have a beat that honestly is cool, but it's not really that great of a beat. Like, you know, is this the real hip hop Das Effects beat? I'm not crazy about this beat, you know what I'm saying? And like, I remember that being also an issue too, because it was kind of like an old school beat too. And again, this is 2004, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not some cutting edge shit, you know what I'm saying? So it was almost like it was a joke record. And so it's fascinating, man, because I wonder what's the thought process for a lot of this shit. They were clearly trying to do some novelty record shit, almost like My Name Is. Now, this song is way better than My Name Is. Way better, okay? But again, it's interesting because My Name Is came out and that went like crazy, right? But again, the white audience likes that shit. You know what I'm saying? Eminem was able to get play on rock stations. People weren't even fucking with rap. You know, gravitated that shit and grabbed onto it. Now, however, when it comes to Jin, and as I've said before, when you're a minority, especially, and you're not black and you're trying this rap shit, you are going to be scrutinized even harder than everyone else. And I think this is the thing. Like, people, obviously white folk were not trying to hear this, like, you gonna speak Chinese shit in the midst of all this. They're not trying to hear that. That's the truth of the matter. Now, as for black folk, some of us were definitely half and half on it. I think there's some of us who were also feeling that way too. But you gotta understand, as a minority ourselves, we love to see minorities like kind of do our thing, right? And come through and be dope. So like, I mean, at the end of the day, D and Y put this nigga on. So it's not like black folk didn't want to hear from Jin. That's not true at all. Like, we were big fans of this dude. He was on BET. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how he became the thing. Like, he was on fucking Black Entertainment Television, signed with, you know, black label and stuff. So clearly black folk were feeling him. You know what I'm saying? But white people, no, they weren't. You know what I mean? Again, I'm just keeping it real. A lot of people, you know, they want to sugarcoat shit and pretend like race don't matter. You know what I'm talking about. So, anyways, Learn Chinese comes out. I still think this is, with this and I Gotta Love, those are Jin's best songs by far. Ironically, I think this is one of the best songs he's ever recorded. Even the way he's rapping, like, you know, we don't speak English, you know, when the cops show up or something, we don't speak English, we speak Chinese. The way he was rapping with more passion. So I think it's hilarious when, like, I've seen Jin in interviews talk about how, like, he's almost kind of ashamed that he put this record out, but it's like, bruh, this shit was ahead of the curve. This shit was brilliant, actually. Like, real talk. You know what I'm saying? But you have to, you know, if you're gonna go there, you have to be raw with it. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is the problem sometimes, you know what I'm saying? People are afraid to just go all the way. If you're gonna go there, go all the fucking way. Balls, right? But of course, the industry, right? It's not just up to Jin, it's not just up to Wyclef. So I do think that what Wyclef did and the idea behind this, like the Learn Chinese shit, I thought was really smart. And again, this is where hip hop casuals pretending to be heads come in. Oh, Jin's with Wyclef. Wyclef was with Canibus. So therefore, Jin sucks. So Jin's going to fail because of Wyclef. Not even listening to the fucking record. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, Learn Chinese was the best song on that goddamn album. You know what I'm saying? If we're keeping it a buck, in terms of the rhymes, everything, it was the best song. And that's partly the problem. The album came out and it was a fucking dud. I remember, because I'm a Canibus fan, but I'm also a Jin fan at the time. So I'm getting this album, I'm listening to this shit, and I'm like, something sucks, what the fuck? First of all, let's break it down, right? You know me, what do I say when an album sucks, or even how I listen to the album? Go to the beats, right? The beats were trash. Like, really bad. You know what I'm saying? No, let me just lower this a little bit. But the beats were actually horrible on this album. And I noticed that right away. You know what I mean? Like, it was all this generic kind of club songs. I kept thinking, like, why is Jin in the club so much? Like, what the fuck? It just felt like one bad radio club attempt after the other. You know what I'm saying? When I was listening to the shit. Then, of course, you had I Gotta Love, which was fire. I mean, again, it was fire back then. It's fire now. Like, the beat is fire. And I remember thinking even one on that beat, he didn't really kill it like he should have killed it, if we're being honest. Like, I remember thinking, like, this is not a good look, man. You got a fantastic beat and you didn't kill it. Not a good look, Jin. You're showing... And I think also the album, aside from the whack beats, showed, like, the cracks in Jin's, like, the way he puts tracks together and what he chooses to rhyme about. When he's not talking about basically how Chinese he is, or when someone isn't attacking him for being Chinese and he's flipping it, Jin doesn't have shit to say. And this is obviously a big problem. You know what I'm saying? He just wasn't that creative. I mean, the songs on here were fucking boring. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you get a beat like I Gotta Love, the top tier rappers, the Nas's, the J's, the Busters, the Method Mans, they're gonna flip that shit into something crazy. Jin couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So right away, you were dealing with somebody that, in a way, was very typical to that battle rap problem. Not being able to write songs that make any kind of meaning or really fit and make great music. It's a common trend and it's a common sort of like cliche, but in a way, it's proven itself a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I think Jin was just another one in that line. Now, in Eminem's case, I think Eminem probably, being the white rapper he is, he like had a lot of help probably. I'm assuming people in the studio helping him structure rhymes and things like that. Obviously, and also, if we're being fair to Eminem has more writing talent than Jin probably, right? Because I mean, even though I wasn't a huge Eminem fan, even out the gate, I was kind of like, these songs are about nothing. This is Bloodhound Gang, the rapper. But again, when you listen to shit like Guilty Conscious, there's more of a pen game. There's more thought going on in Eminem's mind than there is in Jin's mind. Jin is just rhyming about, like, he's this Chinese guy, he likes chicks, you know what I'm saying? He wears like aftermarket or, fake Gucci. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was all very generic, super generic, right? So that was a problem. If I just go back to these tracks, I mean, he has a song Here and Now. That was kind of, the spitting was on that. It wasn't bad, but it was definitely one of the better songs. But again, not a song I ever go back to, even back then. The song Come On sounds like some Eminem bullshit. And it's interesting. Like, I wonder what was the thought process. I'm sure they were the vision was like to make him in like an Eminem-ish type of rapper, because they seen how Eminem went like gangbusters. But it didn't work, you know what I'm saying? And it's interesting because Come On is produced by Mr. Porter, one of Eminem's guys, right? So, and I just remember thinking like, damn, why is this thing in the club so much? And then, of course, there was these like songs like tochiRTA and Love Story and some of these like corny slow jams. All of them trash beats. All of them. Very generic. I mean, you had Just Blaze on this album. Just Blaze gave you a dud because that club song beat was mediocre as fuck. Even the Check the Clock, the Swizz Beats, that's like one of the worst Swizz Beats I've ever heard in my life. You know what I'm saying? So clearly you didn't get top-notch shit. You lucked out on Kanye, which is the best beat on the album, and that's kind of it. I mean, again, that Learn Chinese beat, it's more of like the novelty factor of it is more of what's interesting about that song. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say that the beat itself is what something that I would actually want to hear all, on some sort of repeat. You know what I'm saying? So that's it, man. I mean, that's literally what caused the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like Jin to me didn't lean into his strengths. I mean, again, everyone's got strengths, everyone's got weaknesses. When you have to know yourself and you have to know your strengths. And Jin didn't lean into his strengths. I think on Learn Chinese is when we saw him actually lean into his strengths a little bit. And even then he wasn't like, it's almost like he was shy in a weird way to really put that out. I don't know if the label was shy, if it was a calculation, but I'm like, yo, go in on that. You know what I'm saying? Rapping about how gully you are. You Chinese, but you still gully with the rhymes. You still got gully folk with you and shit like that. I mean, that's what I want to hear. I mean, and that's real. You're showing how we're all connected in this rap shit, right? But he didn't do that enough. And even now, since that last sort of Vlad interview, he's like ashamed of the record kind of. And it's like, nah, nigga, that was the best shit on there. The reason why your shit didn't sell, I mean, one of the reasons to me, especially to your core fan base, the cats who were paying attention to you, is because the shit was weak. You abandoned what made you dope to begin with, right? So that comes out, it flops, whatever. And again, when you are one of the first, I mean, Jin was like the first Asian rapper I'd even heard of. I didn't even know Asian people were rapping until Jin came into the picture. So when you are the first to do something, and again, you are not white, you must be fucking excellent. You cannot just be the world will judge the shit out of you, clearly. Do you know what I'm saying? And this is where Jin failed, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't do well. A bunch of reasons, as I've already covered. And then he starts going into, he's doing more of the battling thing, I guess, to kind of get like his street rap up. So he starts doing like, I think he did Smack, Murdered like verse or whatever. That shit was hilarious. I love that. I used to play that all the time back then. I watched that shit when it came out. So he did the battle, and again, going back to more of like what made him dope. Even like that, all that acapella Smack shit. I mean, Jin is a big reason why that shit caught on. Let's be real here. Like, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, he murders that guy, and then we come to Serius Jones. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Back then, when Serius Jones and Jin battled, I didn't really think that Serius Jones was that great back then. But again, you gotta understand, this is that anti-Asian shit. Because Serius Jones and a bunch of other people said some real like racist shit. Real talk to me, where I was like, that's not really a good line. That's kind of racist. But Jin had to just swallow that shit. I mean, it was just the nature of the game, and I didn't really like that, And again, it's funny in hindsight, because back then everyone was like, "Oh, you see, Jin's shit. Like he came with an album and flopped. He was never that great." And it's like, but you're propping up these guys like Serius Jones and Iron Solomon, who will never be like, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's that Iron Solomon. I never really thought he was that special. I'm gonna be honest with you, but he's white, and that's how this shit goes, right? So it's like, you're propping up these guys because you're scared of an Asian cat rapping, and neither of these guys have said or done anything nearly as interesting as what Jin has come out with. So, you know what I mean? I mean, in hindsight, again, when we fast forward almost 20 years, Jin is still relevant, quote unquote. I mean, somewhat relevant. I mean, shit, Jin is so fucking relevant that, what's this guy's name? The hardest Chinese nigga ever. China Mac, right? China Mac, who's can't rap for shit, in my honest opinion. Sorry, China Mac, if you ever see this, but I'm just being 100. I think you're whack on the mic. But the point is, China Mac was able to get some sort of YouTube Vlad career popping simply because of his association with Jin. That's what you know about somebody who really's got it. When, Jin is clout. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you are clout, you can get other whack niggas popping just because they're associated with you. This has never happened to Serius Jones. This has never happened to Iron Solomon, and it will never happen. They were not that nice. Okay? Now, that line that Serius Jones said about you couldn't go something it's like you couldn't go platinum. I think there's 1 billion people in China. You couldn't go platinum over there. That was hard. That was a dome shot, man. That was a headshot. I mean, to me, that was, and again, obviously that's the line everyone remembers because that was actually a hilarious line. And it was like, I'm sure it went straight into Jin's soul, man. That shit burned him for real. Because, I mean, in a way it was true and not true because, again, back then in 2004, I don't know how many Chinese kids back in China were even bumping rap like that personally. So it's just a funny line. It's a great line. But a lot of the other stuff that Serius Jones said, I remember in that battle, I didn't think was all that special. And I think a lot of it was really just like very much like making fun of the kid because he's Chinese. And like, again, if you were afraid of Jin, if you hated on Jin, if you're feeling xenophobic because of that time period and shit like that, you went, oh, that's funny, ha ha, but it really wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and then after he did a couple of battles, you could tell Jin kind of slowed down a bit. And then he came out with a song I think called Top Five. Um, that song was just mediocre, man. I remember being like really looking forward to him coming back with some new shit, and then he just dropped that, and I was like, it was that undergroundy like, you know, underground rap in the mid 2000s, as I've said, it fell off. You know what I'm saying? Hard. And in the mid 2000s, you had a lot of this retro kind of like, you know, I know rap, you know, type of, you know, these are my favorite rappers type of records. You know what I'm saying? Where a song get Coogee rap on the record for clout or whatever, you know, and not actually like the song wouldn't be dope. It would just be just basically position yourself, right? So it just felt in that sort of like corny, like, um, you know, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. So I remember that being disappointing as fuck. Speaking of disappointing, you want to talk about some disappointing shit? This was disappointing, but maybe I'll talk about this in another video. That terminology shit. But anyway, this is what I mean by Jin. Like, it after that, it just felt like the steam was gone. And again, Jin is rhyming about, you know, how much of a hip hop head he is and stuff like. It's like, I know that already, my nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? You dope. Like, go in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you hip hop is about being bold. The best rappers are bold in their own way. They're not afraid to be themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it sucks when you see people that are afraid to be themselves because they're clearly not doing what you're supposed to do in hip hop. Again, I keep going back to why certain rappers and people go, what do you mean you like, how can you like Playboy Carti and all this shit? It's like, Playboy Carti isn't original, okay? At the end of the day, you've never heard nobody like Playboy Carti. Whether or not you like that ad-lib repetitive shit or whatever, the combination of that style with those beats, that Pierre beat, that look, the vibe, the bop, that's Playboy Carti. He is an original. And in hip hop, the number one rule in hip hop is that you're supposed to be fucking original and dope together, right? Like, number one, if you come out sounding like the next nigga and you're not dope, you're whack. It's really that simple. And my point is that Jin, I think, was scared to be an original because he really was. You know what I'm saying? So that's my point at the end of the day. I mean, Jin, ultimately, would I check for a new record from him? Sure, if he got the right beat. Again, you know, it's all about having the right production, having a vision. You know what I'm saying? Your production has to speak for who you are. I keep stressing this, man. The Rest is History, that album that Jin has, is trash because the beats are trash. And the beats don't communicate anything about who he is. Learn Chinese was the closest thing to communicating who the fuck Jin was. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. You know what I mean? But again, much respect to Jin. He's not no failure or whatever. Like, he's accomplished a ton more than most rappers will ever accomplish. You know what I'm saying? And for his time, he was absolutely dope. Those freestyles are classic. He's got like one or two good songs. And he opened the door. I mean, the reality of the matter is that you need someone like a Jin. You know what I'm saying? Because now, like, again, you've got these China Max or even Chinese rappers in general. Like, Jin is the prototype for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Jin, like, has influenced thousands of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Jin can't, like, kick himself and be like, oh, I was trash or whatever. Because that's not true at all, right? Like, he was so dope. The fact of the matter is that he became recognized because he was so dope, right? That's how he even got his break to even get the opportunity. Now, that opportunity in a way got fumbled, but I'm sure that's a mix of multiple things, and most of it I've covered. You know what I mean? Anyway, peace.